Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Budget and Finance Committee meeting for Monday, October 22nd, 2018. I'm Paul Krikorian, Chair of the committee, joined by my colleagues, Council Members Blumenfield, Englander, and Bonin, and we are ready to begin today's meeting. We still have some folks back there?
Yes.
Okay. No, let's just see how it goes. First, I'd like to go to our multiple item speakers, and I have two. I'm going to call first Mr. Previn up to speak on his agenda items and general public comment. So come on up, Mr. Previn.
They are monitoring the meeting on the squawk box as well.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Williams, there seems to still be a problem with the kiosk. I'm not sure what the problem is, but...
Mr. Troy.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Previn, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. And respectfully, I'm Eric Previn from Studio City, CD2. I think we have a little disagreement about the lien hearings, and I know that there's a widespread confusion. Some people believe that the issue here seems to be that fines are different than fees, and fines you don't get due process. So maybe that's why it's so loosey-goosey up here. I'm put off by moving the people who are facing liens against their property into a hearing in front of Charles, who is terrific, but everybody knows that Charles is not. He's the guy trying to get the lien, so there's no real two sides. So with that said, I encourage people to speak out in a public way, ask for help, and I encourage the council district, there are 15, to show up at this meeting if they're going to lien people, because this is the only time they have a chance. So thank you. Moving on to the other items on the agenda, I wanted to note, before you go into closed session, and thank you for taking care of this in the back room, the Duesenberg LLC lawsuit. Here we have, I think it's fair to say, one of the richest families ever in California, the John Anderson family from UCLA. The city, thanks to David Michelson, is suing that group, one of their LLCs. Judith Munzig is the one who I figured it out for. Anyway, they're holding forth on some kind of land that we need for the 6th Street Viaduct. This does not give the public great confidence that this kind of expenditures are being conducted by these groups that are all constantly working together on the same team. Makes me wonder what the hell is going on, frankly. That said, good work. Item number 6, we have obviously Mr. Englander, before he exits to protect his lobbyist activities, he wants to make it so that gross receipt tax is not paid on new vehicles. This is fantastic for the Celebrity Holdings LLC, realty people, those people who sell new cars. But what about Joe Blow, who sells a used car? And I asked Chaudhry and Claire Bartels to clarify, whose responsibility is it to pay a gross receipts tax on the sale of a used car? And why would we exempt brand new? I'm sure there's a good logical reason. You could, 1 minute for my general public comment. Is that correct, sir? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
2 minutes. I'll take 2. One or two. One is fine. So I wanted to ask Mike Bonin, who's finally come face-to-face, Koretz is not here, he's still building up the courage, to take a closer look at the campaign finance ordinance and the optics, because I've studied it even more closely now, to provide a 6-to-1 match in the way that you're planning, without requiring anybody to debate, and with the threshold currently in place, even the lower threshold, what's going to result, unfortunately, is what happened in 2017, where of all the candidates that ran for office in the city, sir, please, let's muster up a little emotion on this. Only 20% received matching funds. That doesn't seem right. I mean, does it? That's the top tier. And all the rest of the candidates didn't get bupkis, as we say in the business. So the way to fix it, as I've said before, is to nix any kind of a threshold. Getting 500 good in-district signatures is good. It's hard. And then you can get some money to compete against the big dogs. Now, you'll never chase an Englander or a Krikorian or a Bonin because those guys are well entrenched. But you might get a chance to do one lousy mailer or buy a few posters. So I think you should look at it, and the optics are terrible if you do anything less. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there a speaker named Mr. or Ms. Law, L-A-W-E?
I think the kiosk didn't take my name.
Oh, okay. Did you want to speak on general public comment, or did you want to speak to one of the agenda items? Okay, perfect. So we'll come back to that then. So is there anybody else wishing to speak on general public comment, which means an item not on today's agenda? Okay, so we'll go ahead and close general public comment. And then members, if there's no objection, I would propose item 7 to be approved on consent. and item 8 to be noted and filed on consent, unless members have questions or concerns. Okay, and seeing none, it will be the action of the committee to approve item 7 and to note and file item 8. All right. So then we'll go ahead next and take up the liens. So, Charles, if you can come on forward.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
For the record, Richard Williams, Office of the City Clerk. Item number 7 is scheduled for council on Friday, October 26th.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Karibala. I'm here to represent the Department of Building and Safety. The inspector is not here yet. I think he's still in the back. But the department recommends for the following items to be received and filed. Item number 9J.
Before you begin on that, I just want to explain to the folks who are listening. The Department of Building and Safety is going to make some recommendations for changes in what was originally proposed on the agenda right now. When he recommends that a matter be received and filed, that means if we accept that recommendation, that matter ends here. It will not advance forward to council, and there will be no lien that goes forward to council. So he's about to list off those that Building and Safety recommends be received and filed by their agenda item letter. So go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the department recommends that the following items be received and filed because we are paid in full. Item number 9J, like John. Item number 9M, M like Mary. Item number 9P, P like...
I'm sorry, which 9M or N?
M like Mary.
M is in Mary, okay.
Then 9P, like Paul. Like Paul. 9P.
P as in Paul.
Then item number 9R.
9R as in radar.
Certainly. Item number 9S, S like Sam.
9S as in Sam, okay.
Item number 9T, T as in Tom. And item number 9X, X as in Xerox.
Okay.
Those have been recommended to be received and filed because we are paid in full. In addition, the department recommends that the following 2 items be received and filed because they are determined to be owner-occupied, and the city does not place liens on owner-occupied properties. That's item number 9H, like Henry, and 9Q, like Queen.
Okay.
Furthermore, the department recommends that the following items be submitted without recommendation, no recommendation. Those start with item.
Okay, now, I'm sorry. Just let me explain again to the public. So, if you are here on any of the following items, the department has recommended that the matter be received and filed, which means it will stop here and it will not advance forward. So that would be 9H, J, M, P, Q, R, S, T, and X. So if you're here on any of those items, if the recommendation stands, as I expect it will, the liens will not go forward. Okay, it will die here. Now, the department is about to introduce matters that they need more information about, they want to do further investigation about because they've spoken to some of you, or there's another reason that they want to continue this forward to council, but without the recommendation for approval from this committee. So that gives more time between now and when the council votes on it for the department and for each of you to have more time to be able to figure out what the status of the matter is. So go right ahead, Charles.
Okay. Yeah, that's item number 9A, like apple. 9F, like Frank. 9G, like God.
G like George?
Yeah, G like George, like God. Then 9I, like international. Then 9K, like Karen. Then next is 9N, N like Nancy. Then next is 9U, like unicorn. And lastly, 9AB. Those the department recommends that they'll be submitted without recommendation, where we'll take a look at what's involved. I think
Okay.
4 weeks or 30 days should do.
Okay, very good. Any other recommendations for changes from the conversations that you, okay.
Can you mention by name? Which one is my problem? Then these numbers are called. I don't know which one is mine or which one. It's very
Mr. Previn, I don't need help. Thank you, but be quiet while you're sitting there. Okay, so I'm going to go through again the changes and the recommendations that the department has made. And I'm going to list them off by the agenda item and the address. So please listen as I go through this, and I'll tell you what I'm going to recommend that the committee do on these items. If I don't mention your address, that means we're going to continue to have a hearing about it today, okay? So 9A, the department recommends that we continue it to council without a recommendation of this committee. That's 920 North Dexter Street. 9F, the department recommends we continue to council without a recommendation. That's 5419 North Sadring Avenue. 9G, 19106 West Cantera Street, the department recommends that we continue it to council without a recommendation. 9I, 2656 North Rutherford Drive, same recommendation, that we continue it to council without a recommendation. 9K, 13744 North Marchant Avenue, same recommendation. 9N, 14967 West Bleecker Street, same recommendation. Number 9U, 3601 South Grand View Boulevard, same recommendation. That is, that it continue forward to council without a recommendation of this committee. And then finally, 9AB, which is 2310 North Lilyvale Avenue, same recommendation, that it continue to council without a recommendation. Now, in addition, the following matters, Building and Safety is recommending that we receive and file, so the lien will stop here. It will not advance, it will not go forward. No lien will issue. And those addresses are 9H, 6324 West Grape Place, 9J, 8207 North Lullaby Lane, 9M, 9619 West Green Verdugo Drive, 9P, 2152 West 81st Street, 9Q, 1230 West 83rd Street, 9R, 659 West 60th Street, 9S, 3508 South Greenwood Avenue, 9T, 3807 South Lyceum Avenue, 9X, 20221 West Tuba Street. Okay? Now, if your address is not among those that I just mentioned, then Building and Safety is recommending that we proceed with the lien today. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and call up speakers to speak about each of those items. So we will start with, let's do it this way. Okay. I apologize that these are not going to be in the order of the agenda, but these are all on lien matters. So we're going to ask first Bahman Kodayari to come on up.
Good afternoon. This is Bahman Khodayari.
And what is your address, sir?
The address is 19106 Kantara Street, Reseda. I have objection, and I am ready to speak about that.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, there is a lawsuit with the Department of Building and Safety, has been filed over 2 years ago. I have the copy here, and it is set for the trial for next year. They have tried to dismiss the case. They haven't been able. So at this point, they have no legal grounds to come and ask for lien. I have the copy of the court paper that says this is a schedule for next year. So I believe they have no valid lawful reason to come and ask this lien.
Okay. So in light of those facts, the department has recommended that this matter advance to council without a recommendation from this committee. That will give you additional time to provide that documentation to the department, but also to Mr. Blumenfield, who represents the district that your property is in. So Mr. Blumenfield's staff can take the opportunity to review your materials as well. Mr. Blumenfield?
That's right over here. If speak with him, we'd love to help you in any way we can.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Bob Smith. Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing?
And your agenda item, sir?
Number 6.
Regarding the gross receipts tax?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't indicated. If you could, I'll come back to you. I just want to finish the liens first, so thank you. Okay, Felix Martinez? Mr. Martinez? Yes, sir. Good afternoon. And your agenda item, sir?
K9.
So that's 13744 North Marchant?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
I'm not sure what I have to do now because the item was forwarded to council. I was going to ask for an extension.
And this has the effect of doing that because no lien will issue until council acts, which would be...
That's what I wanted to ask, is for an extension to file some objections or other information.
Yes. Now, so you can provide whatever information you would like to provide to the Department of Building and Safety. In addition, your property is in Council District 7.
That's correct.
So your council member is Monica Rodriguez.
Right.
And because when it comes before council, a motion will be required to be made by a member of the council, it would be important for you to speak with her office before it comes to council. So if you'd like, you can go down there today. She's on the 4th floor. And you can just go in and speak with them right now if you wish, or give them a call and make an appointment, whatever you like. But you could go straight to the 4th floor right now if you'd like.
I think I'll give her a call.
Okay?
Very good. Thank you.
And then we're going to recommend this advance to council without a recommendation of the committee in the meantime.
Right.
Okay, so it'll be at least 30 days before it comes back to council.
Very good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is James Karubian. Mr. Karubian? Okay. And Mr. Law? You don't want to speak? Okay. And then I have, it just indicates Lawrence. I don't know if that's first name or last. Oh, are those the two together? Okay, gotcha. Lawrence Law, I see. Mark Wise. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And which property is yours, sir?
14967 Bleecker, I believe it's 9N.
N, yes, Bleecker, okay.
So today, I just came, I left a letter signed and by my grandmother. I came to represent my grandmother. She's 82 years old. And the issue was I tried to establish a payment plan over the phone, and they said I would have to bring her in person, the homeowner, and also she'd have to have a current and valid ID, and that would have been another issue, is stringing her along to the DMV to get that. So I came here today, one, to represent her and also to ask for a payment plan myself, because when I called initially over the phone, they said I had to bring her in person, and it's just it's extremely hard.
Okay, I understand. Is she the property owner?
Yes, she is.
Okay, and she's living at that property now? Okay, so I think what Building and Safety will tell you is they need proof that she's actually the owner and the occupant. So they can provide you with examples of documentation that you can provide for that, okay? What I would also suggest in the meantime, because we're going to advance this without a recommendation today so that you have time to do that, you should also speak also with Ms. Rodriguez's office, because she's the council member for that address.
Okay.
So if you want, you can go straight from here to the fourth floor, talk with somebody in her office, Monica Rodriguez.
Okay.
Or I can give you a phone number if you'd like to call. So.
No, I'll go ahead and march up there.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So it will come before council more than 30 days from today, at least 30 days. So that will give you enough time to be able to deal with her office and deal with Building and Safety. She will have to make a motion at the time it comes to council to alter this in some way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay?
So I can go there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She may not be there, but you can speak with her staff. That'd be.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
All right, you too. Thank you. Okay. That brings us to Ms. Sawag. Good afternoon.
My problem is the fine that I got. I think there's an error on the.
Can you pull the mic over? Yeah.
The penalty, the fine that I got, there is an error on that one, I believe. The reason that I got a fine was because I was a few days over the due date to comply with the final inspection.
Okay.
And the reason is I tried to make a final inspection a week before, but the inspector didn't answer the phone, and I had to leave the country for 10 days. And when I left the country, the inspector came to my house and he called me overseas and told me that I didn't have final inspection in time, you know.
Okay.
I told him I'm out of the country, I'll be back in a week. And I did comply with the final inspection when I got back. He signed it, but I don't know what's the reason for me to get such a big fine for no. I did everything by the book, whatever they told me.
Can you tell me what the address is, sir, or your agenda item?
It's 5419 Sadring Avenue, Woodland Hills.
Sorry about that. We're having some technical difficulties with the clock. Okay, Mr. Blumenfield, that's item number F, 5419 North Sadring Avenue. So the department had recommended that we advance it without recommendation, which would give you at least 30 days to be able to talk to Mr. Blumenfield's office and the department to provide further documentation of the situation that you described.
So if you can speak with Jeff in my office, who's on the side there.
Sure.
As soon as you're done, we want to help you out any way we can.
Thank you.
But the recommendation will be to advance it to council without any recommendation unless Mr. Blumenfield suggests otherwise today.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay? Thank you. Okay. Okay, our next speaker is Peggy Scott. And Ms. Scott will be followed by Rahim Multani. Can you just kind of turn it? Okay, thanks. Ms. Scott, welcome. Which address are you here about, ma'am?
1230 West 83rd Street.
1230 West 83rd, so that was one of the ones I mentioned. So the Department of Building and Safety is recommending that we receive and file that. That means there will be no lien. So our recommendation will be you will not have a lien on your property.
Going home feel free, huh?
You can go on home and feel comfortable.
Okay, good.
Right, Building and Safety? That is what, 1230, I just want to make sure that I'm right. It's 1230 West 83rd, right? 1230 West 83rd? Yeah. You're good to go.
I'm good.
And we're going to recommend that no lien issue. It's just,
What about the amount that they're trying to,
This- It's nothing. I'm through.
Yeah,
Charles, did you?
yeah, that amount is still outstanding. The property owner owes $5,986.32.
Okay,
It was determined the property is unoccupied. The city cannot put a lien on unoccupied property.
so that the amount owed is not on our agenda today. You'll need to have a further discussion with Building and Safety if you want to reduce that. You should also probably speak with your council member, who is Mr. Harris Dawson. But there will be no lien issued.
But that wasn't, that happened with, what's his name before him? Marquise?
Before him, with Bernard Parks?
Bernard Park. That happened before him.
Regardless, there's only one council member at a time, so you have to speak with Mr. Harris Dawson, so.
Okay, so okay.
That would be my recommendation, so. But there will be no lien.
Okay.
There will be no lien, so, okay. My pleasure, thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Rahim Multani, followed by Rhonda Davis. Mr. Multani, welcome.
Thank you. I was just objecting to the lien based upon the notice of code violation and all subsequent notices being sent to an address other than the address that has the last assessment roll. And I brought a copy of the grantee from 2010 that states the correct mailing address.
That states what?
The correct mailing address.
Okay, and which is that, what is that address? What property are we talking about?
We're talking about 2310 Lilybell Avenue.
2310.
AB. Item AB.
Okay, that's item AB in CD 14. Okay, and so the department did recommend that we provide additional time by advancing it to council without a recommendation. So that will allow you to provide them with that documentation, number one. But also, again, consistent with my other recommendations, if you would, you should speak with your council member, who is Jose Huizar. He represents that property address.
Okay.
So we're all on the fourth floor. So if you go down to the fourth floor today, you can talk with a member of his staff and see if they want to make a recommendation to council for some change in this.
All right.
Okay?
What was his name again?
Jose Huizar.
All right.
Huizar. And he's on the fourth floor.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker is Rhonda Davis. And Ms. Davis will be followed by Thelma Novello.
So if I understand correctly, nothing that I say matters because it's already going to be moved to council, correct?
I don't know what your address is, so let's start with that.
01 Grandview Boulevard.
3601 Grandview Boulevard. So that happens to be in Mr. Bonin's district, so you might want to take the opportunity to speak now if you wish, or you can speak with a member of his staff. That would work as fine as well, but the recommendation will be to advance to council without a recommendation of the committee.
Do I need to make an appointment to speak with your office?
No, you can go down and talk. Oh, Tricia is right over there. She can talk to you right now.
Okay.
And we'll be happy to try to work it out before it gets to council.
That would be great. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Thelma Novello. Good afternoon.
good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of the...
Which is your property?
My address is 920 Dexter Street.
And do you know which item is that on the agenda?
9A.
9A.
A? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So the department's recommendation is to move this forward to council, but without a recommendation. So no lien would issue for at least 30 days, and then you would have an opportunity to, do you own the property?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you live in the property?
I live in the property
Okay.
for 20 years.
Okay, so they need documentation that demonstrates that you are the owner and the occupant of the property. And if you do that, then no lien will issue.
Okay, who will be my representative?
Oh, your city council representative is Gil Cedillo,
Gil Cedillo?
and he's on the 4th floor. And let me give you a phone number as long as we're doing it. It's 743-40, thank you. I do need your help after all. 473-7001.
Okay,
473-7001, area code 213.
Goodness.
And so you're free to go down to the 4th floor and speak with his staff, or you can give them a call. But Building and Safety can also direct you to what information they need to be able to prove your owner occupancy. Okay, anything else to add to that, ma'am?
So there will be no lien on my property, right?
Not until council acts, which would not be for at least 30 days. If you can prove that you are the owner occupant of the property, no lien will issue. But you have to do that before it gets to council. So you have 30 days or so to do that.
Yes, you have to fill out the paperwork we give you and submit it to Charles.
I don't have your email.
Okay, so anything else that you wanted to say to the committee, or?
Well, I am sure all of us are very unhappy to know that they're trying to get a lien on our property, because we work very hard for keeping our property, and we can barely make our living. And we do not wish, I'm sure all of these people have the same thing that I want to say, that it should be no lien on our property. This is not, we don't have a lot of money. We can just barely make our living.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very concerning.
Yeah, I understand. We don't issue liens on owner-occupied properties. We issue liens when people fail to pay penalties for things that they've been cited
Pay
for.
my taxes every year.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is James Carabian here? I called Mr. Carabian earlier. Okay. And, okay. So is there anybody else here who wished to speak on a lien matter? All right. Very good. Then public comment then on the lien matters on the agenda is closed. And Mr. Williams, do you want to reiterate where we are? Oh, I'm sorry. I have one of my own. On item 9D, I'd like to recommend reducing the lien amount to the original charge of $356.16. And let's see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so on 9D, $356.16. Okay? Okay, and with that, Mr. Williams?
Yes. These are the dispositions as to be approved by the committee for item number 9 as follows. 9A as in apple, the committee submits without recommendation to council in 30 days. Item number B as in Bob, approved. Item C as in Charles, lien approved. Item D as in David, lien approved but reduced to $356.16. Item E as in Edward, approved. Item F as in Frank, committee submits without recommendation in 30 days to council. Item 9G as in George, committee submits without recommendation to council in 30 days. Item 9H as in Henry, receive and file inasmuch as the property is owner occupied. Item 9I, as in Irving, committee submits without recommendation to council in 30 days. Item J, as in John, receive and file. Item K, as in King, submits without recommendation to council in 30 days. Item 9L, as in Larry, lien approved. Item 9M, as in Michael, receive and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid. Item N, as in Nancy, committee submits without recommendation to council in 30 days. Item 9O, as in Oscar, lien approved. Item 9P, as in Paul, receive and file inasmuch as the lien has been paid. Item 9Q, as in Queen, receive and file inasmuch as the property is owner occupied. Item 9R, as in Robert, receive and file inasmuch as the lien has been paid. Item 9S, as in Sam, receive and file inasmuch as the lien has been paid. Item 9T, as in Tom, receive and file inasmuch as the lien has been paid. Item 9U, as in Uncle, committee submits without recommendation to council in 30 days. Item 9V, as in Victor, lien approved. Item 9W, as in William, lien approved. Item 9X, as in X-ray, receive and file inasmuch as the lien has been paid. Item 9Y, as in Yellow, lien approved. Item 9Z, as in Zebra, lien approved. Item 9AA, as in Andrew, approved. Item 9AB, as in Andrew Bob, the committee submits without recommendation in 30 days. Item 9AC, Andrew Charles, lien approved. Item AD, Andrew David, lien approved.
All right, those are the recommendations. Members, are there any objections or questions about those recommendations? Seeing none, the recommendations as read by Mr. Williams will be the action of the committee. All right, thank you very much. So let's go ahead next to item number 5, the Commission on Revenue Generation, first quarterly report. So come on up. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you. My name is Jan Breidenbach, and I'm the chair of the Revenue Commission. And we've been meeting, it's okay. We've been meeting since March, checking with staff. One of the things we have is amazing staff from the CLA's office. Melissa Krantz and the interns they just give us all the information we need. They get it quickly. But mostly I would say about the committee is that we are actually working very well. During my career, I've sat on a number of different commissions and committees, and they're never useless, but some are much more useful than others. And this one is right at the top. We're taking our charge very seriously. You have from the letter the research that we've commenced. At our last meeting, we discussed we more or less finalized an RFP for a consultant to come in and do the work on the pilots, because we were told there is one in California, in Stanford and Palo Alto, but it's really a fee-for-service. It's not really a pilot. So we're looking at a couple of research organizations around the country that have done research on pilots and whether or not they're feasible, and we're going to have something on that. Well, I don't know we'll have an answer, but we have our research agenda set for that. The financial transparency issue, we've heard from some experts. The folks from both the pension funds have attended our meetings. We're still in a very, I would say, preliminary stage of we've been asking questions, and most of the questions have been answered to us, but not completely. So hopefully by the next meeting in November, we will have the answers that we have asked for regarding the transparency and the fees for the pensions.
I'm sorry, what were the outstanding questions you're trying to get answers to? Not specifically, but I mean, from whom are you awaiting answers?
From the two pension funds in the
okay.
And there are questions about, I don't know, Mr. Moore is more involved in that part.
That's okay. I just want to make sure that
How
you're
they
getting the...
calculate the fees, how assets are tracked, because both pension funds do it differently. And so we're trying to both assess how that's done and then see if there are areas where we can save money.
I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a problem in you getting the answers that you're seeking. So,
No, it's been a little bit slower than we might have liked. We would have liked all of them by this past meeting, but hopefully we will have all of them by the coming meeting.
great.
And then it mentions the tax incentives and the arrangements that we're making with hotels and other, mostly hotels, on the tax incentives for their developments. And we've again been looking at some research into that in other cities around the country. And last meeting, which was just last week, John Wickham from the CLA's office came and made a very thorough presentation on how they work. We have questions that we're going to be addressing or asking more starting next week. And we also read and kind of analyzed internally the controller's report that came out a few months ago. On the billboards, which it says here, we really haven't done very much because the policy's unfolding. And so we kind of note that it's out there and it's something that we want to take a serious look at before we're all done. But we actually haven't advanced asking for any information except tracking it. There's a couple of other things that are being suggested by committee members that haven't turned into actual items on the agenda. We actually had a very long list when we started, and we prioritized the list. So I actually enjoy this commission very much. It's intellectually interesting and kind of not challenging, but it makes the brain muscles work when you're in it. And all the commission members are very good about reading all the reports that we get. So I personally, as the chair, am very pleased with the work we're doing, and just on a personal level, I like this work. It's really very nice. So if you have any other questions.
Terrific. Well, it sounds like you're off to a good start, and I really appreciate the approach that you're taking around being data-oriented and looking at best practices. Because, it seems like we always try to reinvent the wheel here in Los Angeles, and a lot of times there's a track record that we can look to see what works, what doesn't work, what's cost-effective, and what's not cost-effective. And I think the fact that you're taking the time and effort to do that sort of data analysis and look at what other cities' practices have been makes for a much better work product. So thank you.
The meetings are full, and that is exactly our approach. The only thing that I think might come up over time, it has not been discussed yet in our committee, is our work may not be done in 24 months. Now, nobody wants to stay a minute longer than we do, but it just takes a long time to figure out what it is you want to ask, to craft an RFP, to kind of figure out what's the best way to go out and get the organization that can give us the research. So like we've been doing this pilot stuff for, 5 months maybe or more, and we're just now finalizing the RFP. And some of that is, we meet for an hour and a half every month, and although people work in between, to have us all together to agree what we're going to do next. So that's just something that's coming from me personally. That's neither staff nor anybody else has suggested that.
If I can just offer one other suggestion, I don't want to add unnecessarily to your workload, but the Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates every year produce a white paper that they present to the Budget and Finance Committee during the budget cycle. It very often includes revenue enhancement recommendations. Now, some of these are recommendations that we've tried in the past. Some there may be reasons that we can't do it, but I think it deserves a thorough look whenever we can find suggestions from people who are thinking outside the box about revenue enhancement, and it might be something that your members might want to have a look at, in recent years' white papers to see what recommendations they had that might be feasible as well.
We have 2 members from the Neighborhood Council citywide budget, and they are bringing information in as we are going forward.
Okay.
So
You're a step ahead.
your suggestion is exactly on point, and we're doing it.
Great. Okay.
Anything?
Thank you. Mr. Blumenfield?
Well, great. Now, just want to encourage the work that you're doing. Appreciate it. And we're always looking for new revenues and ways to be more efficient with our dollars. So that's always welcome. On the pilot stuff you mentioned, did Did you say that there were other jurisdictions in California that are using them for nonprofits or affordable housing?
There's only one, and that is an agreement between the City of Palo Alto and Stanford University because there's a fire station on the campus. And they've been operating, they've had an agreement between the city and the campus for decades, actually. They just finished a couple of months ago their fourth renewal of their agreement. But it refers to it as a pilot in some of the documents from the Palo Alto Budget Office, but it's not actually a pilot. It's more of a fee for service.
So
Okay.
it's a whole new beast.
Yes, in California, because we're not even totally convinced. One of the things we want to find out is whether or not we can do this in California, or if we decided to do this, do we need legislative change? I mean, we feel like it's very important if we come up with some information that will really help by having one of these. We got to go find out if actually we can do it. But we've already read research from other places around the country. There's about 50 cities, I think, around the country that do this. It's very helpful if you have a lot of university. I mean, Boston's had one for quite a long time, and they, half the city is universities. So they've had one for years, and it's very helpful to the city. So.
Great. Thank you.
Whoever's phone that is, could you please silence it? Mr. Bonnet?
I'm sorry, that's mine, and it's an alarm.
Oh, okay.
It's an alarm telling me that I need to go pick up my goddaughter from school.
Okay.
And
Well, that's a signal to us that our questions should be brief. Mr. Bonnet, anything else?
It's all right.
We understand.
She's not far away.
Childcare, go.
Okay.
No, she can wait a little bit. She's on the soccer team, and
Okay.
But I always forget, when I turn my phone off, the alarms don't go off.
Yes.
I mean, probably for a good reason.
Mr. Englander, did you? Okay. No, I think we're good.
Have nothing
I
else?
think we're good. So thank you very much. Thank you thank you to you and your members for the work that you're doing. I'm glad you find it rewarding, and I think that the work product that you produce will be rewarding to the entire city. So thank you very much. Appreciate your work. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.
I'm taking my alarm and going home.
Thank you. And give our regards to your daughter. All right, that brings us to item number 6.
Pardon me, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, the committee's disposition on that item?
We'll note and file the report without objection. That will be the action of the committee. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is a motion, Englander Rodriguez Brew, relative to amending ordinance number 182184 to remove the sunset clause and permanently exempt the sale or lease of new vehicles from the city's gross receipts tax.
Okay, and we'll go ahead. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Smith. Go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Bob Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Los Angeles New Car Dealers Association. Between 1986 and 2011, the City of Los Angeles saw a 65% decline in the number of new car dealers located here. Many went to neighboring jurisdictions that offered attractive incentives for dealers to relocate. Sales tax revenue resulted from the sale of new or lease or sale of new vehicles declined as a number of these dealerships declined. In 2012, the council adopted the ordinance exempting the sale or lease of new vehicles from the gross receipts tax. The objective for the exemption was to stop the exodus of dealers from Los Angeles, attract new dealerships to the city, and encourage capital improvements and expansion of dealerships that remained. Since 2012, not a single dealership has left Los Angeles for another jurisdiction. In 2012, there were 57 dealerships. Today, there are 73. And there have been at least 10 major expansions of existing dealerships. May I continue?
Just finish up your thought, please, and then we'll go right into the discussion.
In adopting the ordinance, the assumption was the resulting increase in sales tax receipts to the city would more than offset the loss of revenue from gross receipts tax. We have absolutely no doubt that has been the case, but we defer to the city's Office of Finance for empirical data.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your being here. Mr. Englander, did you want to make a comment on this?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for being here as well. A couple of things. One, when we looked at this, it was a partnership that I worked with then Councilmember Eric Garcetti, as well as the Mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, on this piece of legislation, and a couple others. And we looked at that exodus and did a study and started working with the association and many of the dealers and finding out why they left. And a lot of it was the simple gross receipts. And while we can make that argument on any business, there was a little bit of a difference because the study that we did was a little longer than the one that Mr. Smith had talked about. Ours went back, and we realized we lost about 50%, half of the new car dealers in the city of Los Angeles. And why that was important to look at was what did we lose in sales tax? And what was the differential in the offset between the sales tax? So we kept that business tax, but gave up the sales tax revenue in exchange. And realized that it would have been about $90 million at the time when we did the study, about $90 million in roughly in sales tax. And we were netting about $30 million. So we lost close to $60 million in sales tax to hold on to roughly $10 million in business tax. It just didn't make any sense. And it wasn't just about the industry. And quite frankly, that was part of it. The other part of it was, and the reason we looked at new car sales versus used car, and there was a significant difference. Used car dealers across the board have the service part of the business as well. And it employs a tremendous amount of people with good paying jobs. And the study that we did at the time also showed that most of those jobs were in those neighborhoods. It was a local hire. Those people, the mechanics, the folks that worked at those dealerships typically lived very close by. They didn't commute far for those jobs. And so, in essence, we exported those jobs out of the city of Los Angeles in good numbers as well that fled and left. And so to bring them back, and the whole idea of this was, can we bring them back? And we had a certain goal of at least meeting the minimum threshold of the loss of business tax to gain back in sales tax. We've now far exceeded that. The other part of this, and asking for, and I got a couple things I'm going to ask for, in asking for the elimination of the sunset rather than just another sunset, is dealers, when they sign either a long-term lease on a piece of property or have property acquisition, it's oftentimes for 25 or even, those are the minimum, 50-year leases. It's unheard of to sign a 50-year lease on a piece of property for a business, but that's about average for a dealership because they have to invest millions and millions of dollars to build the showrooms, the service bays, all the infrastructure, and it's not a 5-year plan for them. It's not a 10-year plan for them. It doesn't even amortize to do that. And on top of that, the flags, be it Toyota, Lexus, Mazda, whoever they may be, Ford, require the dealers to actually reinvest in the dealership and rebuild that showroom every nth year. So they know they're on the hook on that. And in talking to them, when we did the research study, they also said, you know, the difference, and this was back then in 2012, it's only profound now, and the difference is that when somebody's buying a car, that business tax is actually just passed on to the consumer. And it's minimal. It's not that much when you're talking about buying a car. But the difference is when you're buying a car, you're shopping for, you often don't shop price of a car. They shop monthly payment. And so if one guy, 5 miles away or in another city is $192 a month for that car payment, and his competitor in the city of Los Angeles is $208 a month, well, it's not significant, but they hear the difference between the 1 and the 2, and it sounds like a lot of money to them. Not to mention the fleet sales. So we have done a deep dive on this. We've brought more back to the city in terms of sales tax than ever dreamed. Not only preserved those critical jobs, but have expanded them. And so what I think we need to do now is we did a rough calculation that we didn't do. We asked the Department of Finance to do, and they did it for us. That's not before us today. They did a very thorough job and a comprehensive job. And what I would ask is that we ask them to go back to present it to this committee, but add something else to it. We have a feeling that we've missed a number of addresses and a number of dealerships that are either existing or the new ones that have come in under different codes. And so in talking to the association, they can provide the list of actual street address locations for every one of the dealerships within the city of Los Angeles. So what I would ask is for the Department of Finance along with the CAO to come back and do that study along with the addresses and confirm that we've captured all of them so it's complete. And most of the work, I believe, is already done, so I don't think it'll take that long to do, maybe a couple weeks to refresh it and look at those addresses, to come back here and we can consider it as an economic discussion.
Okay. And so that CAO analysis that would come back would include cost effectiveness of this provision, sales tax and other tax revenues versus lost gross receipts tax, the thorough kind of analysis that we would want to know to see whether this policy is driving behavior. And
exactly. Yeah. And also to remind you too, and I'll remind everyone when the report comes back, they still pay business tax. It's just not on the actual sale or lease. So everything else that's sold there, whether it's the used cars on a new lot, whether it's everything in the service, that's all taxable too. So we're still getting that. We just don't even look at that in the report, but that's a big number too, yeah. And we just don't account for that.
So I think I'm confident that this has been a very successful policy, and I was happy to support your efforts at the beginning on this, because this is exactly the kind of example of targeted gross receipts tax relief that can actually enhance revenues for the city. What I always look for with gross receipts waivers or amendments is this an industry that is mobile, that can identify a location in Los Angeles or outside of Los Angeles easily? Does it serve a regional customer base? Does it produce significant offsetting revenues? And does it have a high gross receipts tax but a low profit margin? And in every one of those respects, the new car industry fills that bill. Whether they create a dealership on the Burbank side of the border or the Los Angeles side of the border makes no difference to them in serving their customer base. Right. But it makes an enormous difference to the city's bottom line in terms of sales tax and other UUT and all sorts of other tax revenues that more than make up for the relatively small loss of gross receipts tax.
I didn't even think of the UUT.
I think.
I didn't even think about that, yeah.
Now that being said, I believe that to be true, but I think before we move forward with removing the sunset, we have to demonstrate that it's in fact true with data and analysis. So I appreciate your thoughts about the CAO's analysis and finance. Mr. Blumenfield.
Great, and I appreciate that we're going to get the economic analysis. I think it's really important. I'm in the same boat where I kind of believe that it's true, but I want to see the numbers. And I don't know how many years ago, maybe staff's here, the sales tax on the state level was changed so that most of the sales tax now for vehicles goes to where you reside rather than where the dealer is located. So
let me clear that up real quick.
Well, I can clear it up directly. I know that the majority of it goes, there's 1.5, which is the extra amount, is the local one, of which about 1% comes back, but 0.25 goes to the county. So we get about 0.75% of the sales tax. We don't get the 9%.
Correct. And so this was fascinating, and this blew me away in 2012 when we studied this and unraveled it. And unless it's changed, and the legislature has changed this is shocking. I mean, we were all shocked when we found this out. If you drive right now and you live in Los Angeles and you drive to Ventura County, you're taxed the Los Angeles sales tax rate. You're right. The state collects it. If you drive to Palm Springs, you're right. If you drive to San Francisco, they say, well, where do you live? Because you're paying based on where you live. Except the state doesn't reimburse the city if it was purchased out of the city. The state keeps that gap. We don't collect it because it wasn't actually sold in Los Angeles. It was done in an effort that people wouldn't drive somewhere else and get a different sales tax rate for large purchases. So it leveled the playing field to create a balance of competition and not an unfair competitive advantage. Except the city of LA doesn't actually get the money back if you bought it outside of the city. You're just taxed the rate in which you live. And so when we found this out in 2012, we were shocked. So unless the legislature has actually changed that, and I don't know that they have, We don't see those monies. It's a fallacy. I mean, people think we do.
And I'm under the impression that we do, and I'm not an expert in this, but I remember when that was changed, and I was under the impression that we get 0.75%, which is...
That's the portion of the sales tax we get. What we don't get it reimbursed or given back to the city. It wasn't generated here, so we don't get it here. It was simply the rate they charge you. So you don't drive somewhere else. But anyway, that's another.
Let Mr. Blumenfield finish. That'll come back as part of the analysis, I assume.
So it's a great, I mean, if we're not getting that back, we need to know that, because that's, as you said, that would be shocking, and it would defeat the whole point of having a sales tax in your local area. But I'd like to see the numbers on that, and I'd like to see the numbers in terms of how do we differentiate during the time period that we made this change. And now we've been in the biggest economic boom we've had. So we've clearly increased our number of dealerships. But how does that compare to areas outside of LA that have also grown? Have they grown at a faster rate, at a slower rate? These are all important numbers so that we can justify, because it's a big deal for us to exempt permanently this tax, because this is money that would go to other services and is critical money. But if it makes sense, it makes sense. We should do it. But we need to have the deep dive that maybe you've already done, and I wasn't here in 2012 when this was passed. So I wasn't part of those discussions, but I want to make sure that, I take our fiduciary responsibility very seriously, as do we all. And I want to make sure I can see the numbers in front of me before I'm ready to commit to something like this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bonner? Okay, then if there's no objection, thank you, Mr. Englander. What I would recommend is we approve the item as amended to request that the CAO complete an analysis of the impact of removing the sunset for the new vehicle exemption, and including the further report from the Department of Finance.
Yeah, and I think it's got to go a little more than just the impact of removing it, because I think that's almost too simple and won't be favorable. I think it needs to do an analysis based on how many dealers have come back, what are we generating in sales tax, and that gap since 2012, and where the sales tax has gone up, how many jobs locally it creates out of those new dealers, and then to add to that they work with the association, the Southern California Association of New Car Dealers, to make sure that we have all the addresses captured so we have real data.
Okay, so it'll be prospective and retrospective look to see how the success has been since 2012 and what would be the likely implications of removing the sunset for the future.
Correct.
As well as the Department of Finance information you mentioned. Okay.
And then the report comes back to this committee, correct?
Yes.
Great.
All right, very good. If there's no objection, that will be the action of the committee. And that completes our open session business, so we will proceed now into closed session. City Attorney, have a preference on? Okay, we'll proceed in order then, starting with number 1. All right, the Budget and Finance Committee has completed its consideration of closed session items 1 through 4. We are now back in open session, and they're being...
Pardon me, Mr.
Yes.
I do have one technical correction.
Oh, yes.
Would the committee like to concur on item number 7 with the Health, Education, and Neighborhood Councils Committee action to approve the matter?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no objection, we already approved that item, but if there's no objection, members will concur in the action of Health, Education, and Neighborhood Councils.
Thank you.
All right, there being no other business before the committee, we are adjourned.